From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Friday, January 13th, 2017. Silver is trading at $16.79 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,200 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at 1.2 cents, and the average price of Bitcoin is $806. And Howard.com reports an early November incident in the northern Kunduz province of Afghanistan resulted in the deaths of 33 Afghan civilians, according to a Pentagon military investigation report released on Thursday. The troops ordered airstrikes against the village of Baz, and the bombings killed large numbers of civilians within. The report was quick to shrug off the civilian casualties, insisting that the troops acted in self-defense and that they were clearing the troops of any wrongdoing for calling in airstrikes against civilian homes within a village, presenting it as an appropriate response. The investigation centered its justification on claims that Taliban forces had fired on troops and might well have been within any given home in the village, concluding that bombing all the houses was the minimum force required to neutralize various threats they might conceivably be under. Though the report admitted that the 33 civilians were killed in the course of the airstrikes against their homes, they insisted no civilians were seen during the course of the battle, which is unsurprising since they were all inside their houses until they were subsequently buried in the rubble. When you hear the word lobbyist, you probably think about greedy corporations, but not all lobbyists are the same. Some are fighting for the freedoms you hold dear. Liberty Lobby LLC is doing just that in New Hampshire, working hard to represent you, not some special interest group. You can help by going to libertylobby.info, where your contribution will give us the tools we need to ensure that your voice is heard. Visit libertylobby.info today to find out more. UPI reports Human Rights Watch called the rise of the populist political movements around the world dangerous in its annual report issued on Thursday, adding that the presidential campaign of Donald Trump vividly illustrated this politics of intolerance. The New York-based nonprofit organization cited human rights dangers in China, Russia, Syria, and the Philippines in its 27th annual report, reviewing more than 90 countries. Executive Director Kenneth Roth said at a news conference at the National Press Club, "The rise of populism in the United States and Europe will reinforce and encourage authoritarian leaders around the world." Roth said Donald Trump's successful presidential campaign vividly illustrated this politics of intolerance, adding, "Trump spoke to many Americans' discontent with economic stagnation and increasingly multicultural society in a way that breached basic principles of dignity and equality." The report cited other populist leaders, including President Rodrigo Duterte of the Philippines, who was elected last year after campaigning to kill all of you who make the lives of Filipinos miserable. He has publicly praised the extrajudicial killings of suspected drug dealers and users in the Philippines, where the report said police and unidentified gunmen killed thousands of people since Duterte took office last June. Human Rights Watch spokeswoman Emma Daly said Trump and populist leaders gaining political power pose an actual threat to the human rights system. He seems to be arguing that it's okay to threaten the rights of a group of people as long as the majority is okay with it. Human Rights Watch advocates for an American foreign policy rooted in civil rights and individual freedoms. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. Reuters reports the board governing the $24 billion Gateway program to rebuild portions of Amtrak rail lines throughout New York City voted on Thursday to enter the first phase of construction in a federal program, a critical step to accessing billions of dollars of financing. The Gateway Program Development Corporation agreed to put the first phase onto the federal emerging projects roster. This will allow it to apply for an estimated $6 billion of federal low-interest loans. The federal government has agreed to split the funding with New York and New Jersey for the program, but where all the money will ultimately come from is still unclear. The Gateway program, particularly a new train tunnel under the Hudson River and subsequent repairs of the existing tunnel, is considered one of the most important infrastructure projects in the nation. Construction on the tunnel could tie up traffic in Manhattan's heavily traveled West Side Highway for 3 years and cause other disruptions. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.